From London, this is The World Today.
Hello, I'm Lee Jianhua. Welcome to the program. Our top stories. Another Middle East escalation. Israel strikes Yemen, targeting ports and infrastructure, calling it a response to Houthi rocket attacks. More senior Hezbollah commanders are killed as strikes continue in Beirut and across southern Lebanon. China's President Xi Jinping awards one of the country's highest honors to 15 prominent figures. And Austria's far-right Freedom Party looks set for a historic win as voting ends in the general election. Israel has attacked Yemen in response to rockets fired by Houthi militants over the past 2 days. The Israeli military says its aircraft have hit power plants and seaports in the country. Now let's cross live to Jonathan Regev in Tel Aviv. Jonathan, so clearly a further escalation of this conflict. What do we know about these attacks on Yemen?
A further escalation, but one that I think was imminent, was expected. I don't think anyone here in Israel, at least, thought that two different attacks on the Tel Aviv area, along with numerous attacks on the Eilat area in southern Israel, will go by unanswered. And the answer came this afternoon, just about an hour and a half ago, with reports of various explosions, very large explosions, in the port city of Hodeidah in Yemen. Israel was very quick in taking responsibility for that action. Just minutes ago, the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant releasing a statement saying Israel is behind this attack, also adding that nowhere is too far for us. This according to Defense Minister, according to the statement that the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant released. What does he mean by no place is too far for us? Is it a hint for Iran? Perhaps. Because we're speaking here at Yemen at a distance of 1,300 miles away from Israel, and various aircrafts, various fighter jets bombing in Yemen. This is what happened this afternoon. Of course, as mentioned, this is a response to the two incidents in which sirens sounded here in the Tel Aviv area due to missiles, surface-to-surface missiles fired from Yemen, which eventually were intercepted. There were also various instances of missiles and UAVs fired towards Eilat in southern Israel, and this is the Israeli retaliation. The Houthis already releasing a statement saying this Israeli attack, the Israeli crime as they call it, will not stop them from continuing to target Israel and from continuing to assist Gaza in its war. Israel sending a message, firing it at Yemen at the same time, firing in various locations in Lebanon, clearly sending a message that everywhere in the neighborhood, Israel is ready and at the moment willing to attack.
Thank you very much. That is our correspondent Jonathan Regev in Tel Aviv. Thank you for your update. And the body of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah has been recovered in southern Beirut. According to medical sources in the Lebanese capital, the group has confirmed that its leader for more than 3 decades was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Friday. It's also now confirmed the death of a senior commander, Ali Karaki. Israel is continuing to strike targets across Lebanon, including Dahiyeh, Hezbollah's stronghold in southern Beirut. The Lebanese Prime Minister has warned that the attacks could cause the biggest wave of displacement in the country.
We're looking at a very large number. It may reach about 1 million people. That's 1 million Lebanese people who have moved from one place to another. It's the largest displacement movement that may have happened in the region and in Lebanon. We will not hesitate for a moment to follow up on the role of diplomacy, and we have no choice but for the diplomatic solution.
Now, correspondent Evangelo Sipsas is in Beirut. Evangelo, what do we know about the reports of Nasrallah's body being found and also the deaths of other senior figures in Hezbollah?
Well, what we do know for sure is that Hassan Nasrallah was killed in this attack. It was announced by Hezbollah. But we didn't know how he died or when his funeral is going to happen. But today, we heard that early in the morning, that the paramedics that recovered his body, they said that it was intact. There were visible injuries, but it was intact, meaning that he died from a shock wave that took place from that bombing that took place in the Hezbollah's headquarters in the Dahieh district of Beirut in the southern suburb, which is a stronghold for Hezbollah. That's what the paramedics have said. That's what's been circulating now on international media outlets, but also reported on the Lebanese news national agency. We do know also that other high members were killed. One on Saturday, the day after Nasrallah was attacked. Ali Karaki, which is a high commander actually in the Hezbollah organization, second in command after Nasrallah. He was responsible for the South Command operations taking place on the southern part of the border with northern Israel. But also Nabil Kaouk, which is a prominent council member of Hezbollah, was also killed on Saturday's attack. So we're talking about in a span of 2 days, 3 very strong, prominent figures were killed by the Israeli forces. And in the previous days, in the past 10 days, there are another 2 or 3 were attacked and killed. In the area right behind me, which is Dahieh, there's been 5 to 6 attacks in the past 10 weeks targeted specific members of Hezbollah. Those, in a period of 10 days, there's a lot of people that were killed. And now the question is, who's going to be the next one that's going to lead the organization? Of course, the person who will lead is going to have a lot of pressure coming at their spots from the United States and Israel.
Well, Evangelo, Lebanon's Prime Minister is saying this could trigger the largest wave of displacement the country has ever seen, and these include some of the refugees originally from Syria. Where are these people going?
Well, the Syrian refugees are going back. They fled the civil war in Syria to come to Lebanon. It was a safer place for them to find refuge. And now 50,000 of them are returning back to Syria because of this humanitarian crisis that is taking place. Because there's over 100,000 people that have been displaced from the southern part of Lebanon, and a number of people also left their houses in the Dahieh district. They find refuge in parks, in the waterfront, some of them in schools, in gymnasiums, anywhere they can. But the number of people is just so big that the Lebanese government cannot help them, cannot accommodate them. We have to remind ourselves here that the Lebanese government has been receiving for many years now a lot of international aid. So that has this continuation, actually, of humanitarian crisis that is taking place with people leaving their houses. It's going to need more and more from the international community, and the Lebanese government doesn't have the power to be able to convince them to give as much, because as you mentioned in the beginning, the Prime Minister says that after this continuation of strikes that are taking place, the number of people fleeing their houses could be close to 1 million, even more than those who fled during the 2006 war. So we understand here that it's not only the strikes that are taking place, it's not only the bombing that is happening in different parts across Lebanon. Now we might be talking about a large humanitarian crisis, with mass casualties and a lot of people hospitalized.
Thank you very much for the update. That is our correspondent Evangelo Sipsas in Beirut. Take care. An exit polls in Austria indicate the far right is on course to form a coalition government for the first time since World War II. Polls have just closed in the country's general election. The leader of the Freedom Party, Herbert Kickl, has been tipped to narrowly beat Chancellor Karl Nehammer's ruling People's Party. Our correspondent Johannes Pleshberger joins us from Vienna. Johannes, tell us more about these early projections that you have got.
Well, these early projections, they are reason to celebrate for the Freedom Party here at this event in Vienna. It's almost certain now that the Freedom Party is winning these parliamentary elections in Austria. Let's say it's at 99% certain. Just a tiny chance that there's a margin of deviation that this result could still change and that the second place, the People's Party, could surpass the Freedom Party, but this is very, very, very unlikely. So Austria is seeing its first far-right winner in its history since 1945, and this means it's going to be difficult to form a government because people have said, party leaders of other parties have said they don't want to be in a coalition with the far-right. It's going to be tricky.
It might be tricky, and Johannes, you're right, and winning is not necessarily a ticket to the power. As you said just now, Nehammer said his party won't form a coalition government with Herbert Kickl in it.
Exactly. Herbert Kickl is the party leader of the Freedom Party, and let's say he's not everybody's a fan of his politics. So the current chancellor of the People's Party, probably second place in today's election, he said, no, we won't be in a coalition with the Freedom Party's party leader, Herbert Kickl. If the Freedom Party replaces Herbert Kickl, then maybe there's a chance they will be in a coalition, but they could also change their mind and accept Herbert Kickl. Anything could happen. What is certain also for Europe is that Austria's politics in the European Union will change. I just spoke with a Freedom Party member of the European Parliament, Petra Steger, and she told me her party, the Freedom Party, wants to change how Austria has been voting and acting in the European Union. They want less military aid for Ukraine. They want more sovereignty for nation states like Austria. Pretty much they want to align with a position that is closer to the position of Hungary. So for Europe, for Brussels, this is going to be a challenge. Freedom Party winning Austria's parliamentary elections, and most probably being in the future Austrian government, and also the future chancellor could be from the Freedom Party.
Thanks, Johannes. That is our correspondent Johannes Plechberger from Vienna. And for more on the discussion now, let's talk to Reinhard Heinisch, who is the professor of comparative Austrian politics at the University of Salzburg. Professor, great to have you on the show. So what is driving voter support for the far-right Freedom Party now?
Well, as said, people are very discontented with current politics, with the previous government, the crises, the handling of COVID. Immigration was the #1 issue, according to exit polls, and a government that was quite divided and wasn't able to really present its policies as a success. And the main opposition party, the Social Democrats, have been busy with themselves rather than trying to appeal to voters. And this was an election that was a change mood. It was a change election, and the Freedom Party was most able to appeal to that sentiment of change that was very prevalent among at least 25% of the Austrians.
So it seems like the FPO, the far-right Freedom Party, is confronted with some challenges facing to form a coalition government. And is that Herbert Kickl himself?
To a large extent, yes. It is the Conservatives have to decide, do they want to be the junior partner under a radical leader like Kickl, or do they want to be the senior partner in a coalition with two other parties? And if you look at it that way, that may be the second option, maybe the more appealing one. However, there are certainly people in the Conservative Party who would say that there's a greater overlap in terms of the ideology and the agenda with the Freedom Party, and therefore it's also possible that there might be a deal. It's not clear whether Kickl would insist in the long run in being in the government itself, or whether Kickl would sort of step back, remain party leader, and play the leading role in parliament. Lastly, there's also a role of the Austrian president. Against the wishes of the Austrian president, it is very hard to form a government because he needs to appoint members of the government personally, and he's completely free in doing so.
And how could the election results impact the broader political landscape in Europe?
Well, we seem to be seeing in the emergence of a Central European bloc of countries. If we look at election results in Eastern Germany, if we also look at election results in Slovakia, typically also the main opposition parties in the Czech Republic and Poland, and as already mentioned, Viktor Orban. So these are countries where the population is very fearful. The population tends to want to turn into a fortress. They are very concerned about the war in the Ukraine, and they clearly are afraid of immigration and globalization, and are very skeptical of the European Union. And I think Austria sort of plays right into that trend. It's a very liberal trend, and we have to see whether that will also translate into government policy. It's not clear that it will. It's possible that this is temporary, but nonetheless, Austria seems to be confirming a trend that we've seen in other countries in Central Europe.
Thank you very much for your insight. That is Reinhard Heinrich, Professor of Comparative Austrian Politics at the University of Salzburg.
Thank you.
You're watching CGTN. Still ahead. China's President Xi Jinping awards one of the country's highest honors to 15 prominent figures.
Ever wondered what's the difference between a bear and a bull market? Where are the cash cows? And who are the lame ducks? And what exactly are black swans? Grey rhinos? And unicorn companies? Make sense of it all with Global Business, only on CGTN.
I think it should be more global cooperation.
I would like to hear more the voice of the developing countries.
Globalization has lifted more than 1 billion people out of poverty.
The green transition has to happen. It's a necessity.
For China and the United States are important powers in the world.
What unites us is much more than what divides us. And I believe China is committed to this agenda.
Join me, Juliet Mann, to set the agenda at these times every weekend on CGTN.
Events have consequences. Words create impact.
One more offensive in a long line of battles that's been ongoing for more.
Just got to be careful here with some gunshots. Excuse us.
The world today matters for your world tomorrow.
The number of casualties is growing quickly.
Why, this is one of the hardest hit towns in the region.
The world today, every day on CGTN.
Welcome back. A reminder of our top stories. Israel strikes Yemen, targeting ports and infrastructure, calling it a response to Houthi rocket attacks. More senior Hezbollah commanders are killed as strikes continue in Beirut and across southern Lebanon. President Xi Jinping has awarded China's highest honors to 15 people for their contributions to the country. The ceremony was held at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing and comes ahead of the 75th founding anniversary of the People's Republic of China on Tuesday. President Xi hailed the recipients as having shown loyalty, perseverance and humility. Wang Haiyang has more.
The recipients of China's highest honors come from all walks of life. The Medal of the Republic is given to prominent figures who have helped build and defend the state. Some have greatly contributed to China's space explorations and national defense, while others have devoted themselves to medical science and agricultural development. This year's recipients include a pioneer of China's manned journey to space, a leading expert in leukemia treatment, a wheat breeding expert, and a war veteran who defended the country in numerous battles. The Friendship Medal is China's highest honor for foreign nationals. This year, the Friendship Medal awarded to Dilma Rousseff, president of the New Development Bank and former Brazilian president. National honorary titles are conferred upon prominent figures who have achieved great success in their fields. Some of the award recipients have contributed significantly to China's scientific and technological development. Also on the honorary list is a Tajik veteran border patrolman in northwest China's Xinjiang. An outstanding actress has gained national recognition for her artistic portrayal of iconic female characters in early Chinese cinema. And an accomplished technician won his title for the advancements in container handling technology. 2 more award recipients have been honored for their significant outcomes in legal and geophysical studies. A Chinese doctor is awarded for her unwavering commitment to improving healthcare in China's less developed regions. The country has also given recognition to outstanding contributors in market economy research and sports. China believes honoring such individuals will help build a stronger sense of national identity and inspire its people to continue striving for growth. These awards are also a way to demonstrate the country's will to safeguard peace and progress in the world. Wang Haiyang, CGTN.
More than 150 people have now died in flooding and landslides in Nepal. Dozens more are still missing. The Himalayan country has been pounded by heavy rain since Friday evening. Over half of the victims were in the capital Kathmandu, which is said to have experienced its worst rainfall in decades. Rescue and recovery operations are continuing, and officials are warning that the death toll is likely to rise. At least 16 people have been injured in multiple Russian strikes on the Ukrainian city of Zaporizhia. Ukrainian officials say the attacks damaged railways, infrastructure and apartment blocks. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry says it's prevented more Ukrainian troops from entering its Kursk region, while its forces have also captured another town in eastern Ukraine. Russia says it shot down over 100 Ukrainian drones overnight. The governor of the Belgorod region said one person was killed and 8 injured in the attacks. Searches are continuing for 48 people missing off the Canary Islands after their boat capsized. 9 people, including a child, have been confirmed dead, while 27 were rescued by Coast Guards. Authorities say those on board were from Mali, Senegal and Mauritania. A SpaceX crew has taken off from the U.S. state Florida on a rescue mission, which will last more than 4 months. The Dragon capsule will bring back NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suna Williams from the International Space Station in February next year. The pair flew to the ISS on a Boeing Starliner in June and were meant to return after 8 days. But technical problems meant they had to remain in orbit for 8 months. Natalia Bayona is something of a prodigy in the tourism world. At just 27, she was running the National Tourism Authority in her home country, Colombia. Now she's the head of tourism at the United Nations, the first woman under 40 to hold that role. As the People's Republic of China marks its 75th anniversary, our correspondent Cam Brown sat down with her at the UN World Tourism offices in Madrid to gauge her insights on the world's biggest tourism market.
Natalia Bayona knows a thing or two about tourism. So is it back and beating pre-pandemic levels, as numbers suggest?
You're absolutely right. Our projections say that maybe we will grow 2 or 3 points more if we compare 2019 and nowadays.
Tourism is responsible for 8% of the world's carbon. What is the United Nations doing to try and, bring that industry to make it greener?
Here in UN Tourism, we have a strong focus on green investments, to have hotels with renewable energies, using the community art to create all the designs inside any infrastructure, to create smart airports with new technologies that can, of course, reduce the emissions and that can be more responsible at the end of the day.
How would you describe your relationship with China?
I love China. I love, in a personal way, I'm a very disciplined person. I am honored to be the first international honorary professor in the Beijing International Studies University. So, I love tea. I'm a tea lover. I'm Colombian, but I have to say that I love tea more than coffee. So that's one of my passions.
Which one's your favorite tea? Mine is oolong.
Mine, I could say red tea, but of course white tea as well. So that calms me a little bit when I am stressed.
In October marks the 75 years of the PRC, the People's Republic of China. From a tourism point of view, I mean, it's an incredible transformation that we've seen over that period of time. How would you put that into context from the perspective of tourism?
It's absolutely incredible. If you can talk about the history of China from 75 years from now, I have to say that when you go there, you always see something new. It's incredible, but it's a country that is always innovating. You have seen that mixture between modernity and, of course, tradition.
How important is China to global tourism?
China is really important. First of all, I already mentioned top investor in the world when it comes to infrastructure, hotel infrastructure, and business development. Second of all, when it comes to tourists, they are the ones that spend the most. So 196 billion expenditure only from tourists from China all around the globe. So it helps us as well to promote and to increase GDP among all the countries.
Give us an idea of the importance of tourism in terms of understanding each other, people-to-people exchanges.
Tourism doesn't understand about borders. Tourism doesn't understand about wars, about tensions. Tourism is about mutual understanding. Tourism is about openness. It's about bringing new cultures together. That's the magic of tourism.
New Zealand has reclaimed the world record for holding the largest mass haka. More than 6,000 people packed into the Eden Park Rugby Stadium in Auckland to take part in the ritual Maori war dance. The haka, which involves stamping feet and rhythmic group shouting, is traditionally performed by indigenous Maori people at funerals and weddings. It's also performed by New Zealand's national rugby teams before matches. Our headlines again. Israel strikes Yemen, targeting ports and infrastructure, calling it a response to Houthi rocket attacks. More senior Hezbollah commanders are killed as strikes continue in Beirut and across southern Lebanon. And that is the world today. Thanks for watching. More news at the top of the hour. Coming up next is Razor. For now, from all the team in London, goodbye.